Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes of the children of Jacob, whose name was changed by the Creator to Israel, whose children, according to prophecy, are scattered throughout the earth in their enemies' lands by captivity and oppression and slavery. Greetings. Greetings to those who are not of that bloodline lineage, but through faith in the Messiah of Jacob's children, Yahushua, have connected themselves, as it were, grafted in to the olive tree of the scattered nations. Greetings. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for us as servants. Blessings and double blessings on those trying to deliver boys and girls and babies and children and men and women from sex slavery and human trafficking, and trying to deliver those that are victims of pedophilia and child molestation, which is rampant in the United States and around the world. Finally, blessings also upon those that are trying to help the homeless. 600,000 people in the United States alone, millions around the world with no roof over their heads. Either they have checked out because of the wickedness of this society, or they have suffered mental illness or drug abuse, or their families are so messed up, they're running and they find themselves homeless, or they just unfortunate in this corrupt system to make mistakes and fail financially and find themselves without a roof over their head. Blessings upon those trying to help, and blessings upon those people themselves, for theirs is the kingdom. We have been studying, and also, blessings upon those in the chat, Akas, brothers and sisters. Blessings to all of you in the chat and those that will come. Brothers and sisters, we've been studying the prophecies of Jeremiah. We've been studying the prophecy of Jeremiah. And tonight, we're in chapter 15. What a blessing this prophet has been. As all the prophets of the Bible, who are all Hebrew Israelites, all the prophets of the Bible are Hebrew Israelites. All the prophets of the Bible are Hebrew Israelites. Just stressing that. And they're all a blessing. A blessing to the people of Yah, whether those people be bloodline or grafted in. And Jeremiah is no different. And so we've been reading, studying together the prophecy of Jeremiah. By the way, I'm going to, I don't know if I have the link in the description box. I might not have neglected that, but I'm going to put, I'm just reminded to put a link in the description box for the playlist, the video playlist that's on YouTube for this series. Okay. Every time we do a series, we have a video playlist with all of the Bible studies. So if you want to know all of the Bible studies, for example, when we did the book of Revelation, just ask me. There is a playlist. And of course, in the description box, there is the website that we have that Sister Isha is taking care of for us. And that website has also all the Bible studies in it. So you will see the Bible studies. So if you wanted to review the first 14 chapters of Jeremiah, or the one we did for book of Revelation, or the Daniel series, or the Deuteronomy series, or the Ezekiel series, we've done all of those. We did the series on Zechariah. All of those are in playlists, and they're on the website, which is in the description box. But what I need to do is put the one that we're in now in the description box so you can see that. So I'm going to put that playlist link in there. It's not in there right now, but by the grace of the Most High, I'll put it in there. But we have been studying this book tonight. We're studying chapter 15. We're going to go by the grace of the Most High this weekend, chapter 15 and chapter 16, so that we'll continue our study there. And so let's get started. before we go to Jeremiah, as we normally do, I want to start in other place of the Bible that's related to this. And I want to show you some things. And let's go to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, the author of Ecclesiastes calls himself the preacher. And Ecclesiastes, you know, is the actual, that's the Latin name for this book. But the real name for the book is the words of the preacher. That's the name. Every book in the Bible, the first sentence of the book tells you the name of the book. And so here it says the words of the preacher, the son of David, the king of Jerusalem, which we know to be Solomon, right? So in Ecclesiastes, and the word Ecclesiastes means called out assembly, called out people. And the only people in the Bible that have been called out are Jacob's children. Okay. So I'm going to let's look at Ecclesiastes. Now I want to start this. I want to make sure you can hear me because we're going to be talking about the Israelite health message. Okay. The Israelite health message. But while we're talking about physical food, more importantly, we're talking about spiritual food. So I don't want to get that confused. It's almost like when you read Ephesians chapter 5 and the apostle is writing about marriage and the relation between a husband and a wife. And at the end of it, he's saying, this is describing Messiah and the body or the church or the called out assembly, right? Same thing, same principle here. We're talking about food and eating habits, but we're really also talking about spiritual food and spiritual eating habits and its role in the last days. Now, in the chat, I just want to let y'all know, I glanced at the chat. My focus is straight ahead so that my mind doesn't get taken off what we're doing. I'm not trying to ignore the chat, just letting y'all know. Once in a while, I may glance over at the chat. And if I see something that I need to respond to, I will. Otherwise, I don't, because I don't want to take off the message. Y'all understand that? So that's why I'm looking at, I will glance over. You see me look at the chat, but and sometimes I will respond, sometimes I won't. I'm trying to focus on the message. And the reason I do that, most of you would understand, I don't write any notes. I don't pre-write any notes. I don't write down anything. I'm depending on the Spirit of the Most High to guide me in his word as he is causing me to teach what he wants his people to know. And I don't want to be taken off of that wavelength. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to be taken off that wavelength. So that's why I kind of focus on the word and not on what comes up in the chat. Just want to let y'all know that's the scenario. So in case you understand, you know, and most times when there's a live chat, the person is responding directly to the chat all the time. And I understand that. I don't always do that. And so if it happens that you might say something or you might look for a response and I don't give it, it's not that I'm trying to ignore you. I'm trying to stay focused. Okay. Just letting you all know. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, I'm going to read verse 16 and 17 of Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 16 and 17. This is what it says. Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season, for strength and not for drunkenness. This is a very interesting verse. And I'll tell you why. Y'all have ever heard of intermittent fasting? It seems to be like a phenomenon, say over the last 10 years or so, especially. Intermittent fasting is when you fast for a certain portion of a 24-hour period and you eat within a certain time of the 24-hour period. So for example, you might eat all your meals between 12 noon and 8 p.m. And then after 8 p.m., you may not eat anything again until 12 noon the next day, so that you are eating over an 8-hour period and you're fasting over a 16-hour period. And there's various ways to do it. Some people use a 4-hour window. Some people use a 12-hour window. So they might eat between, let's say, 12 noon and 12 midnight, and then don't eat again until 12. No, I'm just using that as an example, so that there's a 12-hour window of fasting. Well, do you realize that this principle is here in this verse? It's here. The principle of intermittent fasting is here in this verse. As a matter of fact, when we're going to explain it, you understand that was a practice principle in the nation of Israel. It was a practice principle. So when it says here, blessed art thou, it says, woe unto thee, O land, when thy king is a child. In other words, child doesn't know anything. Child is ignorant. Child is working on feelings, right? And thy princes eat in the morning. So basically, it's implying that people that are in responsible positions of leadership with their minds and spirit shouldn't eat in the morning. Interesting, isn't it? And then it says, blessed, and I'm gonna tell you, don't worry about it if you need to eat breakfast. We're gonna talk about it in a second, but it's a principle we're talking about here, okay? So don't worry about it if you say, I love my breakfast. Okay, don't worry about that. We're gonna get the principle right here, okay? Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season. When you look up the word due season, it's translated noontide or eventide. And it says both. It'll say noontide or eventide. In other words, in the afternoon or toward the evening. Thy princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. So it's implying that it's better if you're a thought person, if you're a person that uses your brain, and as a leader, you don't want to be overeating. And by not overeating, you're not eating first thing you get up. You're not eating. You're eating later in the day, which is what we call intermittent fasting. Okay. Matter of fact, when you actually eat for the first time in the day, that's why they call it breakfast, because why? It's breaking the fast, right? Because you're not eating while you're sleeping. So you're fasting while you're sleeping, right? And then when you eat, the first thing you eat, what you're doing is breaking the fast. Okay? Breaking the fast. Y'all got that? All right? Everybody got that? So some people are people that work well when they have food in their stomach in the morning. So the principle here is, okay, fine. Have your food in the morning, but then you're going to have a period from that morning until whenever. Let's say you're going to have an 8-hour period. You start 8 o'clock in the morning and you eat until 4 o'clock. 8 to 4 would be an 8-hour period. And then you don't eat after 4 until 8 o'clock the next morning. You understand? So it's the principle of giving your body a chance to rest its internal system and to not overload it with food. Okay? Not to overload it with food. Okay? So that's why it said princes eat in due season, generally eventide or afternoon, or that after the morning, and then they fast until they eat the next time in eventide. Because they have to lead people. And they don't want their mind messed up when they have to make decisions of particular interest over large groups of people. You understand? That's the principle. Now, related to that, of course, today a news report came out. And again, I like to tell y'all, the news people are always lying to us. And we have to look behind their words to discover the truth. Isn't that what we're always talking about? The news people are always, media is always lying to you. You have to remember that. In movies, in news reports, they're always 100% of the time lying to you. But what you have to do is look behind the words to find the truth. And we talked the other night about believing Bible over man, over media. So that when you look at the Bible, it's going to say opposite of what the media is telling you. But by understanding the truth, you can see the curve they're throwing at you. So I'll give you a case in point today. A report came out that showed in Texas, this was just in Texas, but I'm sure it would work nationwide. And I'll explain in a minute. In Texas, they found that most of the deaths they attribute to COVID-19 are afflicting people with hypertension and pre-existing. And in another report, they said people with pre-existing conditions, and they keep mentioning diabetics. So that the deaths that are attributable to COVID on a large scale are affecting people that already have issues with hypertension and COVID-19 and diabetes. Okay. Now, what I did is I looked up, which I already knew, but I wanted to confirm it. What groups of people in the United States suffer the most from hypertension and diabetes? What groups of people in the United States suffer the most from hypertension and diabetes? 54% is what I saw of the people that suffer from these two diseases are Black people. And among the Black people, the highest percentage is Black males. Hypertension and diabetes. So wait a minute. Let's put it together. If, and I'm saying if for the sake of YouTube, if COVID-19 was created by man, I said if COVID-19 was created by man, and the fact is the people dying from it are the people that most are at risk to die from it are the people that are suffering from diabetes and hypertension. Let me repeat that. So if COVID-19 was created in a laboratory, I don't think even media denies that. They're just denying which laboratory it came from. Everybody's trying to say some laboratory in China, right? So I don't think even the media is denying that it was created in a laboratory. All right, so we don't have to worry about that one. But if it was really created in a laboratory and it's killing people that suffer from hypertension and diabetes the most, and in the United States, the Black males have the most cases of diabetes and hypertension, can we postulate, there's a big word for you, can we postulate that it's possible that this disease was created to kill Black people? Can we postulate that? Is that, I'm not saying it's definite, but I'm saying, is it possible if it's killing people with hypertension and diabetes, these what they call pre-existing conditions? Is it possible that it was created to do that? And if that was possible, would that kind of go in conjunction or with the plan of oppressing and killing Hebrews? Because we already know that the Hebrews are the most oppressed people in the United States, in the whole history of the United States. For example, again, and this is stuff they give it to us. See, they give you this information, but they don't expect you to put it together. Do you hear what I'm saying? They give you information and they throw it in your face to make fun of you because they don't expect you to put it together. But when you're looking at the word of the Most High, your eyes will be open. You see what I'm saying? So you look behind the lies and you find the truth. Okay? So now, for example, let's take the year 16, what year was it? 1620. A lot of people tried to say and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but a lot of people tried to say the first slave ships came to the shores of what we now know America in Jamestown, Virginia in 1620. So that some people were expecting something to happen in 2020 because of that, correct? But let's just take the premise that there were slaves in America that came here from West Africa with chains on their necks around 1620. Might have been before, but let's just take that year. So let's use that year as the basis. All right? Let's just use it as the basis. So now, 1620, and let's go from 1620 to 1865. That's 245 years. So 245 years, we rendered free labor to America. Is that fair to say? Is that an exaggeration? Did I push that too far? Or is that reasonable? That we render 245 years, at least from 1620 to 1865, the end of the Civil War, that we render free labor to the United States of America. 245 years of free labor. That would be correct, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's take it a step further. After 1865, the United States as a country was in shambles, especially the South. It was destroyed. Atlanta was destroyed. New Orleans was destroyed. South Carolina was destroyed. North Carolina was destroyed. Virginia was destroyed. And then they had what they called the Reconstruction. Y'all heard about the Reconstruction? So there was a period of time when the country needed to be rebuilt. And that took place over a course of about 10 years, 10 to 15 years, for the country, Atlanta, New Orleans, North Carolina, Virginia, to have the places that have been destroyed by the war rebuilt. After that, during that time, former slaves were owning land. They were getting involved with politics and having political positions in various places. But at the end of the rebuilding, when they were finished using us to help rebuild the joint, they brought in, and tell me if I'm wrong about any of this now, because I could give you documentation, but I think y'all understand I'm telling the truth. After the Reconstruction, they instituted a program called Jim Crow. Jim Crow took away voting rights from the former slaves, would oppress them in their home ownership rights with taxes and interest so that they became sharecroppers, and began a system of redlining so that the former slaves could not own homes. For another, on a mass scale, I'd say, let's be conservative. Let's say from 1865, 1875, let's say, all the way to, let's say, let's be conservative and say 1955, right? So you're talking about 90 years. But it was probably longer than that. But let's say 90 years for the sake of argument. 90 years. Okay? We could not own our own home. We could not accumulate any wealth. In the United States of America, most of the wealth of the citizens are accumulated through home ownership. Tell me again if I'm lying to you. So that the average American, the so-called American dream, involves getting equity in a piece of property that you live in, and passing that equity on through your generations. So over the course of 90 years, you had multiple generations buying and selling homes and making money off of that, while the former slaves could not. So let's add that up. I'm not going to use numbers because I don't want to confuse you, but you know it's a big number. So between 245 years of free labor And at least 90 years, and I'm being conservative because even to this day, I'll give you some stats on that, but at least 90 years of not being able to own a home. It should be of no surprise for you to understand that the Hebrews in the United States are multiple times behind the Caucasian as far as wealth. The average Caucasian probably has 10, 20, 30 times the wealth of the average Hebrew in America. In the United States of America, 64% of the population of the 100 million households, 64 million households own their own homes. But only 40% of Hebrews, even in this age, own their own homes. Because of the head start we didn't get. So now you can understand, even just for, and I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg, you can understand a little bit why slavery is still relevant to the position we're in today. And I just gave you a little bit. But even in that little bit, I will tell you, it's almost impossible for us to catch up. Because of that 245 plus 90, so let's call it 335 years of being behind, it's going to be impossible for us to catch up. And even now, you have forces fighting against us so that we can't catch up. Not only not catch up, as we mentioned earlier, destroy us. Oppress and use us, divide us, and destroy us. Okay? That's the condition we're in right now. What we are also seeing among the Hebrews is a movement. Listen to me carefully now. We're seeing a movement among the awakened Hebrews toward, now tell me if you see this now. We're seeing a movement toward the awakened Hebrews toward veganism. Have you noticed that? A lot of the awakened Hebrews are moving away from flesh and meat and toward veganism. I'm noticing that. Now, listen to me. I was a vegan for 20 years, more than that. More than that. I was a raw vegan. That's one of the reasons we're called Raw Hebrew Remnant. Aside from us being raw, straight truth, there was about, I'd say at least 5 years where I was eating nothing but raw food. It was a phase I went through. It was during that time my head got cleared, which is my point to y'all. Long term, like over a 20 or 30 year period, what I find and what my wife found is that you will get initial benefits of clarity in your mind and in your health. But long term, like in terms of more than 20 years, that's not, what I'm talking about. You would have to include more things in your diet. And the reason is because your body will clean itself out with the vegan diet. It will clean itself out and your mind will get cleaned out. But there's not enough nutrients in just the vegan diet, or just, as I experienced, just the fruits and vegetables. There's not enough nutrients for you to last long term because they've been denatured. They've been denatured through sin and through commercialism of the food. You understand what I'm saying? Even, it's just, it doesn't have, they said like an apple today is different from an apple 100 years ago. That the apple 100 years ago had 10 times the nutrients that the apple has today. And of course, you can go back all the way to like the days of Solomon and know that those foods were way more nutritious than what we're eating now. But the point is, the veganism movement is helping the Hebrews to cleanse their mind for what's getting ready to come and to see what we're talking about in terms of people trying to kill us with the man-made diseases and what the effects of the eating lifestyle here does to us. Now, right now, I'm not a vegan, just to let y'all know, but I'm not speaking, obviously, I'm not speaking against veganism. I told you I was a vegan for 20 years. You might ask, why are you not a vegan now? Well, over the course of time, over the 20 years, my wife and I were doing that, we both found my wife ended up getting sick after 20 years, and she had to include eggs and certain meats like turkey and chicken in the diet. I looked through the word of the Most High to get answers for this, because we based our belief in veganism on Garden of Eden, where Adam was given fruit to eat. Adam's first diet wasn't even vegetables, wasn't even grains. His first diet was pure fruit. But what we understood as you read the whole word is the Most High changed and adjusted the diet over time, because why? He knew that man was going to denature the food. Sin was going to denature the food. So we start off with Adam in the garden eating all fruit. That's what all Adam had was fruit. He said, I've given you every herb bearing seed. For you it shall be for meat. That was fruit. Okay. So Adam's first diet was fruit, but the fruit Adam ate is not even worthy to be compared to what we're trying to eat today. You understand? If I told you 100 years ago the apple was 10 times more healthy than it is now, can you imagine what Adam was eating? Can you imagine what he was eating? In a sinless state, in a sinless situation? Cannot be compared. The power that was probably in that food he was eating. Okay? So then after he sinned, the Most High said, you're going to eat bread. You're going to eat grains. He added grains and he added herbs to the man's diet. And then later on, when we became the nation of Israel, as you can see in Deuteronomy chapter 14 and also Leviticus chapter 11, he shows us a diet, which includes flesh, food, and fish. But he tells us what's clean and what's not clean. Gives us clean birds to eat, gives us clean animals to eat. And then he tells them how to raise it, kill it. Today we would call it kosher, organic, or halal. Halal is what the Muslims call it. Kosher is what the Ashkenazis call it. Okay, organic is what man calls it when they haven't put their stuff on it, right? So that's the type of food that the Israelites were given. And it was, they included eggs, they included wheat, they included goats, and they included lamb. Okay, they included all that stuff. But they took the blood out. He said, make sure the blood is out of it. Because he knew you would need more balanced food in this world which we live. But even there, man messed it up and start feeding the chickens and feeding the turkeys and feeding all of these byproducts, antibiotics, all that stuff. So that even if you eating that, it'll kill you, right? So that you got to be careful with that too, which my wife and I try to do. When my wife makes chicken for us, she boils it, she gets the blood out, she washes it down, she got ceremony what she do with it, and that's how she handles it, right? And that's how we do it. We get the blood out of it, and then we go ahead and cook it, blah, 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 right? Welcome, Video Love. You're welcome. Just because you're Caucasian doesn't matter. The message is the same. Doesn't change the message. Okay, so we're seeing a movement among the Hebrews toward veganism. And what my point is that the Most High is using that to clarify our minds, to get us prepared. Get us prepared. Because as a result of the sins of our fathers, we've been placed into captivity. According to prophecy. According to prophecy, right? Now, let's look at a couple of the words just to get some idea. We're in the neighborhood of Isaiah. So I want to look at Isaiah for a second, because it's going to show us what the situation has been for us up till now. Let's take a look in Isaiah chapter 3. Isaiah chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 8 of Isaiah chapter 3, and I'm going to read down to verse 12, okay? Isaiah chapter 3 from verse 8 to 12. Now, we're talking about Jeremiah 15, believe it or not. Like I said, I told you we're going to be talking about physical food, but we're going to really be talking about spiritual food, okay? For Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against Yahweh, to provoke his eyes, to provoke the eyes of his glory. So it says, Judah is fallen, Jerusalem is ruined, because why? Because of our doings. This is the doings of our fathers, our ancient fathers. worshiping other gods. Okay. The show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom, they hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Say ye to the righteous that it is well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doing. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. As for my people, talking about us, as for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. That's where we're at right now. Is it not? Children. Children are people that are little, and when they talk about children, they're not, you don't want a child teaching you to rule, right? He said, blessed, it said, curse it when you're being led by a child. That's the type of leaders we got right now. Very self-centered individuals, whine and cry when they don't get their way, and make decisions based on their own way. Immature. You understand what I'm saying? And women, look, the Bible always points to the man as the leader. Told Adam, he told Eve, your husband gonna rule over you. Because you got beguiled by the serpent, your husband gonna rule over you. But in these last days, especially on the spirit level, I'm not talking about president, senators, congressmen. I'm not talking about that, although that's the case there too. I'm not talking about that. That's among the heathen. But among the Hebrews, who you got teaching, trying to teach the word most of the time among the Hebrew? Who is it? Is it men or is it women? Women, as Bible says, rule over you. But as the awakening takes hold, here we are in chapter 4 of Isaiah, chapter 4. I'm going to read from chapter 4, verse 1 down to verse 6. It's a short chapter. Notice what it says. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. In that day shall the branch of Yahweh be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. And when Yahweh shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof, and the spirit by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. That's the trial, right? We talked about that. The thing which I greatly feared. Yahweh will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, upon her assemblies, a cloud and a smoke by day, and the shining flame of fire by night. Upon all the glory shall be a defense, and they shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from the storm and the rain. Yes, we got to go through this. And sisters, this is the thing. Don't get caught up in what the media is teaching you about how you're being persecuted and how men are crushing you and oppressing you. The Caucasian man doing that, not the black man. He's too poor. But really, you are a symbol of the nation. Remember, he considered, the Bible says, we read it in Jeremiah, he said, I have likened the daughter of Zion into a comely and delicate woman. And the Bible talks about the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31. You are the symbol of the purity of the nation. As you carry yourself in dignity and respect, and you pray for your men, and you uplift them before your God, you are a blessing and blessed. Like the 2 women that were the midwives in Egypt, when the Egyptian king wanted to kill all the Hebrew males. He wanted to kill all the males, and the sisters wouldn't listen to him. They would nod in his face and said, okay, but they would save the males anyway. Until the Egyptians said, why are you saving all the males? And they said, oh, we can't help it. They're already born by the time we get there. And the Most High said, the Bible said he blessed those women for that. Today, sisters, you can still help save the males. you can still take up for them. Don't let the media and Ashkenazi foolishness of Gloria Steinem and all of these people deceive you. Don't let how they are destroying us and piling us up in these jails deceive you. See the word of the Most High above that. Okay? Y'all got that? See what I'm saying? That's powerful, isn't it? But it's true. Okay. Wait a minute. One more. Couple more. 2 more. I know I'm going to tell y'all, this is going to be like an hour and a half study. I'm just telling you, right? We're in 40 minutes and we just getting warmed up. I'm just letting you know. So some of y'all may want to drop. I'm just telling you. Okay, it's going to be like that. Because this is going to be a deep one today. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 11. I want to show you something. Deuteronomy chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 8 and go down to verse 12. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 8 through 12. Therefore shall ye keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that ye may be strong and go in and possess the land, whither ye go to possess it. This is the promise of the promised land to our fathers, which today is the promise of the kingdom to us. That ye may prolong your days in the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers to give unto them and to their seed, a land that floweth with milk and honey. For the land whither thou goest in to possess it is not as the land of Egypt, from whence ye came out, where thou sowest thy seed and waterest it with thy foot as a garden of herbs. But the land whither ye go to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinketh water of the rain of heaven, a land which Yahweh careth for. The eyes of Yahweh, thy Most High, are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year. Now, wait, picture this scene, y'all. Our fathers were not yet in the land. When Moses got this Deuteronomy, it was the day he died that he gave them this whole book. This was his final address to the nation from the Most High, that Moses was given from the Most High for the people on the day he died. So they weren't in the land yet. And he's telling them, the land that you're going in, your God, Yahweh, his eyes are always on that land. This is before they got there. He said, his eyes are always on that land. It says it, always upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. He's always. So there's something about the promised land that is special to Yah. Why he said, I'm going to give Shem's children and Eber's children, who are the Hebrews, I'm going to give them Canaan's land. I'm going to give them Canaan's land. There's something about it. Now, we know that the New Jerusalem is going to be set on Canaan's land, don't we? And we know, according to multiple scriptures, that in the midst of the city of the New Jerusalem, there will be a tree of life that bears a different fruit every month, 12 different ones for 12 different months. And that fruit, when you eat it, it will cause you to inherit eternal life. It will give you power of life. Can you imagine? I've eaten some stuff sometimes, brethren, that I can feel the power. And this is denatured stuff. I've eaten some stuff, man. Like when I used to do fast, I'm planning to try to do one again by the grace of the Most High. I'm not sure when. I'm thinking maybe at the end of December. But I used to do every year when I was doing the raw vegan, I used to do a 30-day fast on juice every year. Now, I wouldn't recommend everybody do that. I'm not a medical doctor, so I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. I did that. I used to do it every year. My brethren that know me all that time, they knew it. They know I did it. I used to do it every year, 30 days. One year I went 39 days on just juice, mostly fresh squeezed orange juice. I'd buy cases of oranges and I'd squeeze the juice and I'd drink it. That's what I would have for 30 days. I have so much clarity of mind. And when I come off the fast, I would have fruit. I would just eat the fruit up, y'all. And man, I would have a surge of power in my body. Okay. Now I couldn't keep doing it because I would have cravings because I wasn't getting all the nutrients that I needed. But there was no doubt I was getting tremendous health benefits that last me all the way to now. And so I would feel that power though when I would have the bananas. I get a case. I mean, by the case, the people thought I was crazy. I would walk into a store and say, "You got organic bananas?" And they say, "Yes." Can I have a case? And sometimes I say, "Can I have a case?" And then people look at, yeah, I need a whole case. Can I get a discount on the case? And I would sometimes go to farmers markets where they'd have the bananas that was ready to be rotten, like they had dark spots on them, and they were selling it cheap. And I said, "Can I have this case for like $10?" They thought I was crazy, but I would eat all those bananas. I mean, eat them, right? Sometimes I put them in a smoothie and drink them, but I eat all that, eat oranges, eat whole watermelons. That's how I was doing. That's where I was rolling at that time. Like I said, I'm gonna come back. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to pure fruitarianism like that. Yeah, and the durian. I don't know. I'm gonna come back to fruit, but I definitely would like to do that 30-day juice fast again. I want to do that. I don't know when though. When the Most High inspires me to do it, I'm gonna do it. I can feel it coming though. At some point, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna come off it with some fruit. But I'm now having more of a balanced diet. So, like I said, I'm not a vegan anymore, but I use more of a balanced diet. I use, everything the Bible tells me I could eat. I balance it, and I try to do it within a window, within the fasting window that we're talking about. Okay. So, brethren, though, Robert Daniels, he knows. He was with me. He's in the chat. He knows. I used to do that. He's witness. He can bear witness. I used to do that for years. A few years I did that. So, I was saying that the fruit of the tree of life, though. See, that's why Satan is going to try to attack the city. The goal is to get a bite of the fruit of the tree of life. That's the goal. Because if they can eat one piece of that fruit, they're going to live forever, even in sin. But they will not, of course, they will not get there. They will not make it. But so my point, though, is that tree is going to be on the land of Canaan, a land which Yahweh says he watches all the time. Okay? Just telling you. Now, but because of our sins and the sins of our fathers, Deuteronomy chapter 32, which Deuteronomy tells you all about it, right? All of chapter 28, right? Chapter 29, it tells you all of that. Chapter 32 is another one, though. Chapter 32, Deuteronomy chapter 32. Now, I want you to watch this very carefully, brethren. That's what I'm saying. When you read the Bible, please read your Bible, y'all. Your King James Bible. Never mind all these other books that they're going to try to confuse you with. Just pray to the Most High Yah and read your King James Bible. You don't have to worry about how much of it you understand the first time you go through it. Just read it and pray over it. His spirit will bless you. And every time you read it, you'll be blessed and you'll get more blessing. Believe me, I'm bearing witness. This is my 19th time going through it. It's a blessing. Okay? It's a blessing. So in Deuteronomy 32, I'm going to start at verse 1 and I'm going to go down to verse 9. Deuteronomy 32 from 1 to 9. Okay, watch this. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak. Hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. This is Moses. My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass, because I will publish the name of Yahweh and ascribe ye greatness unto our Most High. He is the rock. His word, his work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment, the Most High of truth, and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye thus requite Yahweh, O foolish people, and unwise? Is not he thy father that hath brought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? He's talking to Israel. Remember the days of old. Watch this now. Watch now. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee. when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Wait a minute, y'all. Do you understand what we just read? He said when he separated the nations in Genesis chapter 10, the children of Adam, even then he set bounds for the future children of Israel. You understand? He set boundaries. Remember, he said, I'm going to give you the land of Canaan. He set bounds for the future children of Abraham, the children of Israel. He said, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. So in other words, Mizraim got his, Cush got his, Japhet got his, Shem got his. But even among all of that, he already had plans, geographic plans, that was going to be the children of Israel before they came into existence. He already knew them. When he Most High divided, and it says it very plainly, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. They didn't even exist yet. You say, well, if they didn't exist, how he? Wait a minute, don't you realize Father Yah is Alpha and Omega? That he lives in the past and in the future and in the present all at the same time? Don't you realize that? Time and space doesn't appeal to him, doesn't that doesn't contain him. Let's go. Verse 9. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Okay. So we know that from the beginning of the earth, or before the earth ever was, he already knew he was going to have a nation that was going to be his people. He already knew he was going to have a children of Israel. He had planned it before the world was even existed. Before they even came forth, before Abraham came forth, he knew who he was going to be. And we read Jeremiah in the beginning of Jeremiah. He said, before you were even formed in the womb, I had already ordained you to be a prophet to my nation. Before you even formed in the womb. Mind blowing. Continuing in Deuteronomy chapter 32. I'm going to start at verse 15. I'm going to start at verse 15 and read down to verse 26. Deuteronomy 32, 15 to 26. But Jeshurun, that's Israel, waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils and not unto Yah. That's why I tell you, them Haitians, they sacrificed unto devils. The Taino Indians, the Mayan Indians, the Aztec Indians, they sacrificed unto devils and not to Yah. That's why we're in the situation we're in right now. Okay? To gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begot thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the Most High that formed thee. When Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them, because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. Has he not done that? Part of our hypertension problem is how angry we are. Is it true? Black men are so angry that a lot of people just look at them scared of them because of how angry they are. It's not unnatural for them to be angry. It is what it is. Black men in general are angry. When we think about everything that's been done to us and how we're in this situation, Part of the hypertension is the pressure of trying to survive here, and it's our anger. That's why when we receive this truth, he subdues that. He won't let it destroy us because now we know of the power of his spirit of perfect righteousness, and we have faith that it's going to all be worked out. It's going to come to pass as he said it, and we're going to be restored. Praise Yah. Let's continue. Verse 22, for a fire is kindled in my anger and shall burn unto the lowest hell and shall consume the earth with her increase and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without, the terror within, shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs. I said, I will scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Prophecy fulfilled, y'all. Which brings me to Jeremiah chapter 15. Jeremiah chapter 15. So we talked about eating bad food. We talked about eating at the wrong time. We talked about getting sick from it. We talked about the prophecies against us. We talked about all of that. Now let's look at Jeremiah 15 because he brings it all out. The brother brings it all out. Jeremiah chapter 15. Beginning at verse 1. Jeremiah 15, beginning at verse 1. Remember now, let's just set the quick background very quickly. Jeremiah is among the children of Judah, the southern kingdom. He's among them right before, and he's the prophet, the main prophet that's in Israel at the time of the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of Solomon's temple and the carrying away into slavery by the Babylonians. He's the prophet at that time. Now, there were other prophets. Ezekiel was a prophet at that time, and as we know, Daniel was a prophet at that time. But both of them bore witness that it was Jeremiah that was the main dude that the Most High was speaking to warn his people. So let's take it here. But we also want to make sure we understand this is a type, this is a parallel to our day. In both the destruction, which is why we just went through all that, we're suffering, and the deliverance, which we know is soon to come and has already started with the awakening. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 15, beginning at verse 1. Then said Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. That's powerful, man. So he's saying you had greatness among you. You had greatness. My men, Moses and Samuel. The Israelites had greatness among them. And he said, in spite of that, y'all acting so crazy, I could not bless you. Even for their sakes. Let's continue. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith Yahweh, such as are for death, to death, and such as are for the sword, to the sword, and such as are for the famine, to the famine, and such as are for the captivity, to the captivity. And I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith Yahweh, the sword to slay, the dogs to tear, the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. And I will cause them to be removed into all kingdoms of the earth because of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for that which he did in Jerusalem. Now, I want to explain this verse. Manasseh, he's not blaming this one man for all that happened to us. He's not blaming this one king as the cause of his wrath upon us. But what he's saying is Manasseh was the final straw. And that's what the Bible, let me give you the scripture that confirms what I just told you. Manasseh was the final straw. Manasseh was it. Let's take a look at 2 Chronicles real quick. 2 Chronicles chapter 36. 2 Chronicles chapter 36. Just 3 verses we need for this one. 2 Chronicles chapter 36. I'm going to start at verse 14 and read down to verse 16. That explains what I just showed y'all in Jeremiah chapter 15. So 2 Chronicles 36, 14 to 16. Moreover, all the chief of the priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of Yahweh, which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. And the Most High Yahweh of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh and despised his words and misused his prophets, until the wrath of Yahweh arose against his people, till there was no remedy. See, so Manasseh was the final straw. Okay, he was the straw that broke the camel's back. So in other words, we've been putting up with us for centuries. And then he said, okay, it's time for y'all to fulfill the prophecy of being in captivity, of being destroyed, of being scattered to the people that's not a people, of being provoked to jealousy, of getting heart disease and diabetes. It's time for y'all to fulfill that prophecy. Okay, here we are. Jeremiah chapter 15. Jeremiah chapter 15. Verse 4 again. And I will cause them to be removed into all kingdoms of the earth, because of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for that which he did in Jerusalem. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? Thou hast forsaken me, saith Yahweh. Thou art gone backward. Therefore will I stretch out my hand against thee and destroy thee. I am weary with repenting. And I will fan them with a fan in the gates of the land. I will bereave them of children, and I will destroy my people, since they return not from their ways. Their widows are increased to me. Above the sand of the seas, I have brought them against the mother of the young men, a spoiler at noonday. I have caused them to fall upon it suddenly, and terrors upon the city. She that hath borne 7 languisheth, and she hath given up the ghost. Her son is gone down while it is yet day, and she hath been ashamed and confounded. And the residue of them will I deliver to the sword before their enemies, saith Yahweh. Now we know again, this happened to ancient Israel with ancient Jerusalem and ancient Babylon, but Revelation talks about a modern Babylon, does it not? We talked about this the other day. It's a modern Babylon. And so the same thing take place in the modern times. And we just talked about the last 400 plus years here in the United States. But you can go to Brazil, Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and see the same thing. You can go to multiple Caribbean places and see the same thing all over the world, as the Bible showed us. Okay, as it showed us. So here in Jeremiah, it was literally and locally to the area of the ancient Jerusalem and Solomon's temple. But in the end of time where we live, it's worldwide. As Daniel said, the little horn shall subdue the whole earth and crush it. That's what's going on. Okay. And we said the other day, the beast is flexing and nobody sees it because there's so much going on. Okay, so much happening at the same time. That's why it's called Babylon. It's confusion. In the confusion, the powers of darkness keep us divided, keep us from thinking, keep us from going to the Most High in truth. And they keep us divided by religion, divided by politics, divided by skin color, divided by everything. They keep us divided. And out of that division that they consolidate their power. That's what Asatan does. He consolidates his power, but he's only doing it because the Most High is allowing him to do it. Those of us that are awakening understand that. His end is coming, and it's already started in the midst of Babylon with the awakening of the Hebrews. As we are awakening to who we are, as we are remembering where we came from, as we are understanding why we are here and how we're getting out of it, that is the death knell to the whole system of Babylon. Doesn't appear so right now, but it's so. And it's going to, as the fire of the Spirit of Father Yah grows among us, they're going to react very violently. You can already see just a little glimpse of it right now, the violent reaction of the majority and the confusion of the both sides. And I want to break this down real quick now. The Republicans are straight white supremacy. We got to keep white supremacy. They don't care. That's why you don't get the media let you get confused. Like, why are these people supporting Trump? Are they stupid? No, they're not stupid. They understand white supremacy is under attack in their mind. And so because of that, they don't care if Trump lies or if he steals, whatever he does, that don't matter. As long as he uses his power to impress and to continue white supremacy, they don't care what he does. And they won't. Because to them, that's their survival. That's when the Bible is talking about, we read this, when the Bible talks about Gog and Magog. They want to stay in power. There have never been any people in the history of planet Earth, whether they've been from Ham or Japheth, there have been no people on the planet Earth that have gotten land and power by oppression and war that want to give it up. Nobody does that. That's just human nature. So now you got the children of Japheth running stuff. They're not going to give it up. So they see a threat. They see a threat in the decrease of their babies. They're not getting enough babies. They're having more people die than born among them. They can see that. They see the threat with immigration, and they see brownness come, and they just want to know white supremacy is going to overcome and survive. That's why they love a President Trump. On the other side, the Democratic side, let me tell you their game. Let me tell you their game. Their game is this. They understand very clearly. In fact, they're the ones bringing forth the information. They understand why white supremacy was created. They understand that white supremacy was created so that the elite level wealth can stay in power by dividing the poor by black and white. And so they got that. They caused the poor Caucasians to believe they were special because their skin was white, or really it's Caucasian, is pale. They called it white. And they said, them dark people, you got to keep them from messing up this country. Okay? They started that. All the people that are Republican now were Democrats 200 years ago. Republicanism only got popular with Abraham Lincoln because he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. But all of them, Ku Klux Klan, all of that stuff was Democrat. It didn't change until they fooled us in the 1960s by acting like they was our friend. But the origin of it was them trying to press white supremacy. So what they're saying today is, we don't need it anymore. We got the power. We got the corporate control. We got the elite. We want all y'all in the poor classes to work together now. We want the gays and the lesbians and the blacks and the whites. We want all y'all to work together. They're not doing the daggone thing for any of us. Excuse my friends, but they're not doing a damn thing for y'all. But they want all y'all working because they already got the corporate control. They already got it now. And so they trying to get the message to the Republicans, yo, we already got this. You ain't got to worry about them Confederate flags no more. And they using the division to keep us divided and to cause us to be focused on conservative versus liberal. You understand how they doing this, man? So when you looking at this word right here, you can see right through it like a laser. And you know where it's headed. That's the Democrat game. People don't care about us. They never did. They've been using us from the beginning. Talking about marching with Martin Luther King. They killed Martin Luther King. You know why? Because he realized he was being used. That I Have a Dream speech was prepared and helped. It was help preparation by the people that controlled him. The Caucasian people that control him, that paid him. Do you know Martin Luther King was flying around in a private plane? And he didn't pay for it. Caucasian people paid for it. And he was on the payroll. But then he woke up. Around 66, 67, he woke up. You understand? And he started collaborating with Malcolm X, who was already waking up. That's when they killed him. They killed Malcolm X first because he was going to bring the United States to the UN and put all of this dirty laundry out there, which they all know already, but he was going to be a citizen representing the oppressed people, and he was going to bring it. I said, y'all out here talking about Jews in Russia, and you talking about blacks in South Africa, and we getting hung by trees right here. He was going to bring that to the UN. They killed him before that could happen, right? Martin Luther King and him had already decided to work together. And when Martin Luther King made that speech where he said, we going to Washington, we're not going to be asking for no equal rights. We're going to get our check because they owe us. Dead. As he woke up, killed. Okay. So that's the truth, man. They were using us from the beginning, and they still using us. Don't get caught up in this Joe Biden. Don't get caught up in him. He's just a puppet. You think this dude even know what day it is? His masters are controlling him. That's why he's out there. He's out there. He don't even know what day it is, y'all. But people that are really controlling him can cause him to do and sign anything they want. And then when he voted out of office, they can say Biden was terrible. When a whole agenda was people behind him. Both sides dogging us, man. You can't trust none of these politicians. You can't trust none of them. Trust the word of the Most High. But that's all prophetic. See, that's Babylon. That's prophetic. Bible said, come out from among her. That means spiritually speaking, first thing we do is return to our God. You can't leave the system. You can't. I don't care where you go. I don't care what land you buy. If you got to pay taxes on that land, you're still in Babylon. If you got to buy anything, anywhere, you're still in Babylon. And that's fine. The Most High has it that way. But spiritually, you ain't got to be part of Babylon. You ain't got to be part of these fake religions. You ain't got to be part of these organizations. You ain't got to be part of that. You can decide to worship what you want to worship, who you want to worship. I don't care if you're in a communist country or whatever. You can worship Yahweh. Because you ain't got to go to nobody's church. You ain't got to knock on nobody's door and they call it witnessing. What you need is the spirit of perfect righteousness from your Father resting on you. That's all you need. He'll do the rest. That's the witness, y'all. As we commit to repentance to our Father through Messiah. He puts the spirit on us. That's the witness. I don't care if you're in communist Cuba, China, don't matter where you are. That's the witness. And when he calls us to open our mouth, Messiah taught us, don't prejudge, don't premeditate what you're going to say. I'm going to put the words in your mouth because it's not yours. It's going to come from your Father. See, that's why when we repent of our sin and we receive that perfect righteousness as a gift and we seek to obey our Father, he's going to bless us with what we need to say when we need to say it. And that's the witness, y'all. That's the witness. You could leave Babylon as far as the spirit right now. Matter of fact, that's the awakening. That's what it is. Okay. Later on, when they physically try to stop us from buying and selling because of our witness of the Father's righteousness, when they have already labeled Hebrew Israelites as a violent cult because of the government agents they trying to put in there, they try to claim they're Hebrew Israelites and they really government agents. You could always find them. They're the ones wearing all these fancy uniforms and asking for money from you, trying to get you to join an ABCDEFZ camp. They fooling a lot of brethren. But it's all good because even from in them camps, the true Hebrews are still there and they're going to come out. It's all good. People going to wake up. It's all good, y'all. You cannot stop Father's spirit. You can't. Nobody can. That's why it's not a question of if. It's when and who. Because it's going to happen. It's already started. Let's continue. Jeremiah chapter 15. Jeremiah chapter 15. Beginning at verse 10. Woe is me, my mother, that thou hast borne me a man of strife and a man of contention to the whole earth. I have neither lent on usury, nor men have lent to me on usury, yet every one of them doth curse me. This is Jeremiah speaking. Yeah, then Yahweh said, verily it shall be well with thy remnant. Verily I will curse the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil and in the time of affliction. Shall iron break the northern iron and the steel? Thy substance and thy treasures will I give to the spoil without price, and that for all thy sins, even in all thy borders, and I will make thee to pass with thine enemies into a land which thou knowest not. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, which shall burn upon you, O Yahweh. Thou knowest. Remember me. Jeremiah is now speaking. See, it goes back and forth. Now Jeremiah speaking. He said, oh Yahweh, thou knowest. Remember me and visit me and revenge me of my persecutors. Take me not away in thy long suffering. Know that for thy sake I have suffered rebuke. Wait, before I go there. So who is the ones persecuting him? He's calling on the Most High to deliver him from his persecutors. Is it the Caucasian people? Is it the Babylonian people? Who's persecuting Jeremiah right here? It's his own people. It's his own people. Influenced by other gods and greed. Well, doesn't that fit? Who arrested Messiah? Was it the Romans that arrested him? No, it was his own people that arrested him. Who was Judas? Figure this out. If Messiah was a black man, guess what color Judas was? If Messiah was melanated, what you think Judas was? Do you think it's any coincidence that his name was Judas? Root in the tribe of Judah? That he was Southern Kingdom turning on their own Messiah and turning him over to the heathen, to the Gentiles? Why? Because he was a threat to the established order of religion, which was corrupt and crooked. Why am I bringing all that up? We're going to be living that right now. The people that are going to come at us the most aren't going to be the Caucasians from the government. We're going to be turned over to them, just like Messiah was turned over to them. And what was his charge? What was the charge that they leveled against him before Pilate? This man says he's a king. And we have no king but Caesar. These were Hebrew men speaking about their Messiah to a heathen. And they said, we have no king but Caesar. If you let this man go, you're not Caesar's friend. And that's when Pilate sat in the judgment seat. That was it. You know, we can put this brother to death. I don't care what he did. I don't care what he didn't do. I'm not risking my gain with Caesar over this brother. And that's why Messiah was put to death for our sins and the sins of the nation. He was turned over by his own brothers and sisters. How did they kill Fred Hampton? How did they know where he was? Who's the man that put them, that they said it was the shotgun blast that killed Malcolm X. They said the shotgun blast in his chest killed him. Who fired that shot? Do you know in both cases it was a black man that fired that shot? In both cases, in Fred Hampton's case, was a black man told him where he was, what the outline of the apartment was, and drugged him so that he would be asleep when they came to kill him. And in Malcolm X's case, was a black man from a mosque in New Jersey with the shotgun that killed him, and they show him walking away. They show him walking away right past the police. You think that's coincidence? No, it's prophecy. It's going to continue. Our greatest enemy are those that have not left Babylon. Not that we need to be angry. Get me right now. I'm not trying to say, did Malcolm X know they wanted to come kill him? Yes, he did. Yes, he knew that. And he allowed it because he loved his people. He loved his people. He may not understand all the truth that I'm telling y'all today, but one thing we know, he loved his people. He didn't even allow them to be checked at the door. He knew they were coming in there with guns. He knew they weren't killing. But because he loved his people. Fred Hampton knew that his life was going to be short. He knew that. He spoke about it. But he loved the people. In Fred Hampton's case, even more. It wasn't just black people Fred Hampton was fighting for. It was all poor people he was fighting for. He had Caucasians. He had Puerto Ricans. He had black people working all together in Chicago. And they killed him. And it was one of his own brothers that set him up. It's always going to be like that. Always. Prophecy. Okay, prophecy. So Jeremiah is here pleading with the Most High to deliver him from his own brothers. Okay. Now, we talked about food, didn't we? We talked about food. And I said it was spiritual as well as physical. Right? Watch. Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 16. Jeremiah tells to the Most High this. Thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of my heart, for I am called by thy name, O Yahweh, most high of hosts. Thy word were found, and I did eat them. That we have any examples in the Bible of the Hebrews eating the word of the Most High, eating it? Yes, we do. Let's look real quick. Ezekiel. The Most High's word is so beautiful, man. If we could give it the respect and honor that it deserves, y'all. we give the word the respect and honor that it deserves, you will get a blessing from the word of the Most High. Ezekiel chapter 3. Actually, I'm going to start at chapter 2. I'm going to start at chapter 2, verse 8, and I'm going to go into chapter 3, verse 4, up to verse 4. Chapter 2, verse 8, unto chapter 3, verse 4. But thou, son of man, the Most High says, hear what I say unto thee. Be not rebellious like that rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. And when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there were written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest. Eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak my words unto them. So the roll represented his words. Remember, Jeremiah said, I found thy word and I ate it. And there was joy and rejoicing. And Jeremiah said, I ate this roll that was filled with lamentations and mourning and woe, and it was sweet. Wait a minute. Let's get another witness. Let's get another witness. Revelation, y'all. Revelation chapter 10. Revelation chapter 10. Revelation 10. I'm going to start Revelation chapter 10. I'm going to start at verse 5 and read down to verse 11. Revelation 10, 5 to 11. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Yahweh should be finished, as he declared to his servants, the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, Go and take the little book, which is open in the hand of the angel, which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up. It shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So the book was a book of prophecy. And he ate it. And it made his sweet, just like Jeremiah, just like Isaiah. Just like Ezekiel. It was sweet. But then it made his belly bitter because it was prophecy. Why? Because people will react negatively to the truth of prophecy. Is that not true? People react negative. You would think, logically, people would want to know what's getting ready to happen. Well, because the Most High is giving you the truth of what's getting ready to happen, and it's different from what all these lying prophets are telling you, you're not going to want it. So any prophet or any person that brings forth the prophecy is not going to be liked by the majority. And Jeremiah experienced that. Let's finish chapter 15. So the food is the word of the Most High. Wait, before we go to Jeremiah 15, I'm not going to go to the scripture, but I'm going to tell you. Messiah is called the Word made flesh. And Messiah, when he renewed the covenant with Israel, he said, Take, eat, this is my body. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no place. I have no place with me. And they thought, well, how can we eat this man's flesh? What he was talking about was this. He is the Word of the Most High. And as we eat Messiah by the Spirit of the Father, the words that come out are the words of prophecy, the words of warning, the words of admonition, the words of power, because the Bible says that in times past, he spoke unto our fathers from the prophets, Hebrews chapter 1. But in these last days, he speaks to us through his Son. We receive Father's perfect righteousness through Messiah. We will not receive it unless it comes through Messiah. When we ask Father for it, we ask in Messiah's name, because otherwise we won't get it. So we ask Father Yah, and then by Messiah Yahweh, please send me your spirit. Forgive me my sin. And through Messiah, Father does that. He is the Word made flesh. when we eat his word. Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 16. Thy words were found, and I did eat them. Thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of my heart, for I am called by thy name, O Yahweh of hosts. I sat not in the assembly of the mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone. I sat alone. Wait, y'all can relate. I sat alone because thy hand, for thou hast filled me with indignation. The word of Yahweh causes us to be alone. Family, familiars, friends separate from us on a personal level because they think we are crazy, because we think that this word is real, that the whole thing should be read and understood, that we should be really paying attention to everything from Genesis to Revelation, not just New Testament, not just Moses, everything. And they think we crazy. How you going to keep all 600 of them laws? They think we're nuts, and we end up by ourselves. Y'all should notice this. I know some of y'all have. You've been separated, and you wonder why you're alone. During the COVID, you've been alone. Some of you have been put by yourself, and you're lonely. But the Most High has brought that upon you so that you and him can commune over his word. Can commune over his word. So you can be prepared against what's coming. That's all he's doing. We're going to be so happy when we get to the kingdom and realize all that Yahweh has done for us to get us ready, to get us through. Because we could not get through on our own. No way. We could not understand anything on our own without his spirit. No way. We could not seal ourselves in his spirit. No way. So we're going to understand. That's why Revelation shows us casting our crowns at his feet, because we're going to know there's no way we could have made it here without his grace and power, without his righteousness. There is no way. And that's why we are now oftentimes by ourselves. And don't worry. You're not really alone. Remember, the Messiah is our teacher, and he said, you all going to leave me alone. But I'm not alone, because the Father's with me. When we start getting that consciousness of understanding the spirit that the Father is never leaving us, even when we're by ourselves, but then we will never really be by ourselves. You hear what I'm saying? Human flesh might leave us alone, but the Father's spirit will never leave us alone. And when you are connected with it, you won't feel alone. Let's continue. Jeremiah started feeling alone here, and the Most High gave him the remedy. Verse 17, I sat not in the assembly of the mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone because of thy hand, for thou hast filled me with indignation. Why is my pain perpetual and my wound incurable, which refuses to be healed? Wilt thou be altogether unto me as a liar and as waters that fail? You see, Messiah, the Father promised him certain things, and he's feeling like, yo, you ain't coming through. These people getting on my last nerve. They want to kill me. Where you at? You ever felt that way? I know I have. Verse 19. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, if thou return, then I will bring thee again, and thou shalt stand before me. If thou take forth the precious from the vial, thou shalt be as my mouth. Let them return unto thee, but return not thou unto them. And I will make thee unto this people a fenced, brazen wall, and they shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee, for I am with thee to save thee and to deliver thee, saith Yahweh. And I will deliver thee out of the hand of the wicked, and will redeem thee out of the hand of the terrible. And yes, he did. He promised Jeremiah, and he fulfilled the promise. Same with us. You're alone. You get lonely. Everybody thinks you're crazy. People wonder why you're not with the church, or why you not with one of the established religions, or why you acting with this crazy cult, right? But you're getting your messages from prayer and the Most High's word, and you know that, but you're alone, and you're wondering why. Why is this happening to me? It's because you're in the truth. If you were not in the truth, the whole world would love you. You're living in a world based in lies. So if you seek truth, you're going to be in minority. And if you seek too much truth, you're really going to be alone. And eventually, according to prophecy, you'll have active people fighting against you. But stand firm on the conscience, your conscience, that you have been convicted on. Stand firm on that. Don't violate your conscience for anyone. Stand firm on how you've been convicted, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It'll be rough on the outside, but the Most High will say, I will deliver thee out of the hand of the wicked and redeem thee out of the hand of the terrible. I am with thee to save thee and deliver thee. That's the word for all of us that stand as the prophet did. Stand for the truth in the midst of people that are against us. We're not trying to start fights. Don't get me wrong. We're not trying to argue. In fact, we admonish you. Don't argue with anybody about the Bible. Don't argue about religion. Don't argue with people. It's not about that. But stand on what you are convicted on. That's the key thing, because the Spirit brings convicted. Messiah said he will send him the Spirit to bring the world conviction. That's John chapter 16. Convict the world of sin, of righteousness, and the judgment. So when we receive that conviction, we're moving in the right direction. We're not always going to be at the same place in our knowledge. We're all different people. But he's going to bring us conviction at each step. And when we're on the sea of glass, guess what? We were all going to be in the same place. Praise the Most High. That's according to the word of the Yah. So that was chapter 15. That was Jeremiah 15, y'all. Praise the Most High. That was the food that we're supposed to eat. May the Most High bless your diet, your physical diet, and your spiritual diet. May he bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you all. Praise the Most High Yahweh. Thank you all in the chat. Praise Yah. Shalom.